Good morning. Thanks for tuning in to another daily conversation about situations in everyday life. So let's talk about it. So today, of course, we hit the middle of the week. We made it. It's Wednesday. What I wanted to talk about today is going to stem from an interview I was watching with Kevin Hart and Will Smith on Heart to Heart. And it was one part of the interview that just really stuck out to me. He was discussing about how sometimes when he gets so invested into a role that he's doing, he can lose himself. And the reality of it is that's just, it's not just within a movie, because the act of what he's doing is he's becoming another character, right? So that he can perform it to the best of his ability. And we have to ask ourselves, how many times do we find ourselves becoming a different character, whether it's to fit into a new job, whether it's to blend in with friends, whether it's to suit what it is that our partners want us to be. How many times do we lose ourselves in something? We don't really realize that it's happening until it's kind of done. And when it's done, it's done because now others are seeing it. Now it's actually being identified. So I wanted to touch on a part that he spoke about, where he, on his 50th birthday, when we're talking about Will Smith here in the interview, on his 50th birthday, he went and bungee jumped in the Grand Canyon. And of course, when I saw that, I was like, he's tripping. First of all, I'm so afraid of heights, but not really. Like, I'm not really afraid of heights, but just like a little bit. And the thought of knowing that you're jumping, like that's one of the things with me. Like, even I can swim, but I hate not knowing that there's no ground under my feet, right? The security, that feeling of security goes away the deeper you go. So that brings fear and anxiety in me sometimes. And well, all the time with the water, to be honest with you. But as for flying, once we're cruising in that altitude, I'm pretty okay. I feel like I'm just in the heavens, So when it comes to flying in heights, it's one thing. But if I'm like on top of a building or on the top floor of something looking out a window, I get a little nervous, because I just start to think, there's nothing down there. What if, my mind just starts to go. But he did that jump, and when he spoke about it, what it was for him, it was like, when you really think about it, he asked, if you can understand the feeling of just extending your arms out and surrendering to life, you just understand that we're not in control, right? And that feeling of just like letting go, like they always do that little activity where you test with you and someone, and you turn your back to them and you fall back in hopes of them catching you, right? It's like kind of like that, but on a bigger scale, because it's like there's nothing here to catch you. Nothing at all right? So it's like you just literally surrendering. You just literally giving up and just just letting the universe and everything just lead the way, right? Do we even think like that? Like, how do we surrender? What does surrendering look like to us, right? So I want to kind of talk about a time when I feel like, life got me, like it took me out, where I realized that it was like, you ain't running shit. You are not the boss of this. Okay. I always hear the kids be like, they be arguing with each other and they're like, you're not the boss of me. You're not, I don't know which cartoon they got that from, but I know they got it from somewhere, because I remember that era when it started up, because my little nieces and nephews was saying it. All the kids was saying it. So, and I'm like, life just be like, y'all ain't the boss of me. Like, y'all think that y'all run this? Y'all don't run nothing. that I run this, right? And for a while, I just when I started to realize that I can jump into action for anything that I desire to do in life. All my challenges, I was able to face them head on. I didn't retreat from them. Um, and when this knockdown that I received happened right when I was working at FedEx. And post COVID, well, prior to COVID, I was doing a in-home private preschool, and it was doing amazing. It was so great. I had like 12 students, and it was really good. And then here came COVID, so everything got shut down. And of course, we have responsibilities. And, a lot of people were like, oh, don't worry about it. The government is helping with unemployment and all this kind of stuff. And I didn't get unemployment. That whole time where everyone was getting unemployment and that extra $600, I couldn't get it. All right. And it was hard. It got really, really hard. My family and my fiance was carrying everything. He still had to go to work because his job was one of the jobs that they considered mandatory. And it got so hard that I was willing to do anything. So I went and got this job at FedEx as a delivery person, and it was intense. I was driving the big boy truck. I wasn't driving no little truck. I was delivering between 100 and 150 packages a day, but I was dropping my weight. I was getting fit. I was feeling myself, right? But at the same time, I was away from my kids literally all day. 6 days a week I was doing Monday to Saturday, and then sometimes I would even do Sunday and then take a day off in the week if they needed to flip. It was just crazy. But it got really, really intense, and I wasn't even realizing the discord that was happening in my home. The mothering and nurturing energy was starting to remove from my home because I was always at work. And at this particular time, my fiance went up to New York to spend his dad's birthday with him. And I will never forget it. It was Easter Sunday. And I went into work this day. And I'm loading the truck and I'm getting ready to go out. And I just literally just slip. I don't even know what or how I slipped. But I slipped on something on the back of the truck. And I fell to the ground. I couldn't feel anything except this throbbing pain in my ankle. And I just was holding on to my ankle. And while this is happening, I'm on the phone with my fiance. He's like, what's wrong with you? Get up. Like, are you joking? Are you playing around? Even everyone in the warehouse thinks I'm joking. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, I can't stand up. And when I let go of my ankle, I watched my ankle literally flopping from left to right. I was like, OMG, this is not real. This is crazy. I've been a dancer my entire life. I've been an entertainer my entire life. I played sports my entire, growing up. I did so many activities that I never broke an ankle, never broke an arm, never broke none of that. And when this was at such a time where in my mind, right? In my mind, everything was great. I was making good money at FedEx. We just moved into this new home, new townhome. Everything was great. And then all of a sudden, my ankle breaks. And not only did it break, but I also had ligament damage. And when I tell you, if there was anything that could sit my little ass down, it would have been that. And I think God realized that I was on a journey of self-destruction because I literally was becoming something that I never wanted. That was the biggest thing that I never, ever wanted. I wanted nothing to take me away from my children. I was working as a car sales girl out here, hours out the ass. It was just ridiculous and a great money. But at some point, I was like, I can't keep doing this to my kids. So I left that. It was just like, kind of like the same reason why I left music years ago, because it was taking me from my kids. But I was so buried into this job, and I think it was because it had me feeling so good, because it was a job that I was actually getting fit. I was losing weight. I was active every day. I was running up hills and running down hill. Like, I felt amazing. I was able to listen to music all day. I'm in the truck just bumping my tunes. All, like, I was in my element, right? But I wasn't in my element, right? I surrendered to this new life that I created for survival. And it was, I made it what it needed to be so that I can endure it. And I literally fused myself into it. And I started to forget my assignment. And I didn't even realize how much my kids were missing me, how much was going on internally in them. And it was like God was like, I'm about to snatch you up because you about to self-destruct and you don't even realize it. And he knocked me down. I'm talking about, if there's anything that could have broke on me to really break me out externally and internally, it would be my feet. Because I'm a dancer by nature, right? It's just, I gotta move. I gotta, and not being able to walk, not being able to, like, the first day my daughter had to give me a bath. Like, I couldn't even stand, I couldn't do anything for 6 weeks. And just the process, the getting in the boot first and then breaking it back into place, and then you having surgery and then putting in the plate and the screws and then them taking it out and then them removing the staples, and then it's just like all of these little things that you had to go through. It was like a whole journey. And while I was going through that journey, it was like I couldn't do anything. Couldn't make money, couldn't even cook for my family, couldn't clean. I had to depend on my village. And this is where my trust in what I put into my kids came into play. It's like, now you get to see the result of your labor, because now I can't move. So how are you guys going to operate? How are y'all going to function? And how are you guys even going to care for me in this moment? And when I tell you my village showed up, they showed up. And I was so happy. Even though I was broken inside, I was happy, because I was starting to enjoy my family again. I was starting to enjoy my kids again. I started to get back into myself. I started to really analyze what was going on around me. I started to realize that I was disconnecting from my partner and not even realizing it. You're going to blame it on, we got to grind, we got to work, we got to do this. No matter what you do, none of it matters. Nothing else matters if who you're doing it for is unhappy, right? You may think they're, y'all got everything y'all need. What is wrong? Y'all don't have, there's no reason for y'all to have no problem. There's no reason for y'all to be upset. Like I always say to my one thing in Jamaica, where vex for? Eh? Where you tired for? Where you don't do nothing all day. That's the kind of thing we like to say as Caribbeans. It's like, we, just because they're kids doesn't mean that they're not drained. It doesn't mean that they're not feeling serious emotions. Doesn't mean that they're not going through things, right? Just because you're providing, you're paying the bills and you got this, it's okay. In their mind, none of that shit, they don't give a shit about that. They don't care nothing about that. All they want to do is sit down and express what they're feeling with you. All they want to feel is your love. All they want to feel is your intention and your compassion and your care. And if you're not even invested in showing up in that way, now your home starts to develop this dark energy that you don't even realize where it's coming from. And then you find yourself in a rage because you're like, all of this I'm doing for y'all. All of this and it's like, does it really like who are you slaving to? Are you surrendering to money? Are you surrendering to the outcome of something? Are you surrendering to what you think you have, or have you become something that you don't even know who you are anymore? Like what are you really doing? Like, what is the purpose behind what you're doing? And I think that is the question I want to pose today. And that's what I want us to think about today. Like, who are we surrendering to? And what are we surrendering to? Because I tell you, when you think that you're in control, you better know that at some point, like Kevin Hart and Will Smith said, you're going to get got. Life is going to get you. Because we don't run anything. We are not in control. All right? We are here to just maneuver. But we are not in control. And when you realize that, it makes you want to just take time to enjoy the moments that we have. Enjoy the gift of life. And really just let life do what it do. Right? So our challenge is today to surrender to what makes us happy. In our core, not our surface, not in our mind, not in the presence of anyone, but ourself. What makes us happy? What makes you smile? Surrender to that and be the best version of you.